Imagine taking the entirety of Italy's private net wealth, every house, bank account, and financial asset, and dividing it evenly among 100 representative people. In a perfectly balanced economy, each person would hold a single equal share. In reality, that balance does not exist. Out of those 100 people, just 5 of them hold 46% of the total wealth. The single richest person in that group holds 22% of the nation's wealth entirely on their own. This concentration leaves the rest of the country to split what remains. The 50 people representing the lower half of the population share a combined total of between 3.5 and 7% of the wealth. This gap has widened over time. In 1995, that same bottom 50% controlled nearly 12% of the wealth. In the decades since, their average net wealth has dropped by 80%, while the shares at the top have steadily increased. To understand what this wealth actually looks like, we have to look at the buildings where Italians live. Half of all Italian wealth is tied up in housing. For most households, a home is the only significant asset they possess, making the wealth gap a literal divide in real estate. This shows an economy where assets are continuously consolidating at the top, while the working class foundation holds less than it did 30 years ago. But to see how this happens, we have to move from accumulated wealth to annual income. When we look at income instead of assets, the divide remains. Today, the bottom 50% of Italian adults live on an average annual income of less than 13,000 euros. At the other end of the spectrum, the top 0.1% of the country takes home more than 1 million euros every single year. To put that in perspective, a person in the bottom half of the population would have to save 100% of their income for 76 years just to match what a top-tier earner makes in a single year. Typically, tax systems are used to moderate this kind of extreme disparity. They are designed to collect more from high earners to fund public services and reduce the pressure on low-income workers. But the Italian code has a significant internal contradiction. Data from the Sant'Anna School reveals that the Italian tax system is regressive at the very top. This means the richest 1% of taxpayers actually pay a lower effective tax rate than the remaining 99% of the country. This happens because the system treats different types of money differently. Wages and labor are taxed at standard rates, but the wealthiest individuals derive most of their income from financial assets and property rentals. The state taxes these passive income sources at rates between 12 and 26%, significantly lower than the tax on traditional work. This chart shows that the favorable treatment of wealth extends to how it is passed down. For the highest wealth groups, the tax burden on inheritances and gifts has decreased and flattened out since the late 90s, allowing large fortunes to move through generations with minimal impact. Compared to its peer nations, Italy's tax on these transfers is exceptionally low. This scatter plot shows Italy's highest marginal tax rate on estates at just 4%, far below the OECD average and other large European economies. The result is a system that functions in reverse. By maintaining high taxes on labor while offering steep discounts on passive wealth and inheritance, the state effectively preserves the existing wealth gap rather than closing it. This systemic preference for accumulated wealth has created a specific crisis for young people who have not yet had the chance to build any. In Italy, older households, those headed by someone 65 or older, are now 3 times richer than households headed by those under 40. This graph for Italy shows the wealth of older age groups trending upward over time. However, look at the line for the 20 to 39 age group. Their average net wealth has trended downward since the global financial crisis, failing to recover to pre-crisis levels. This is driven by a collapse in income. Between 2004 and 2015, the bottom 50% of young people between ages 18 and 35 saw their income drop by 42%. The generational gap is wider than 3 decades ago. After inflation, young Italian households today hold less wealth than young people did in 1989. This stagnation has triggered a movement for reform. A grassroots campaign called 1% Equo recently gathered 50,000 signatures to force a debate in Parliament. They are proposing a progressive tax on fortunes over 2 million euros to fund healthcare, education, and social services. The debate reflects a choice between 2 different futures. Italy can either continue to subsidize concentrated wealth through its current tax code, or it can reform the system to provide the next generation with the resources they need to build their own.